Thank you to attending towards the initiatives worth investing. A step up presentation following to stepping up opening ceremony of the Climate Week 2019. From this presentation, the public, citizens and attendees will be able to understand how education is a crucial part of the Agenda 2030, why the Partnerships for Goals initiated before 2020 with marcharh is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, also known as SDGs, and regardless of the size of participants and goodwill contributing generations, the investment in the thought and developments with marcharh can still be part of the key to many of the transformations that the world, or what we call now Planet A, seeks. The role of education for sustainability not only central to the public sector and also central to the competitive research business world. So therefore, today with this presentation is also important to scholars of any profile, such as me or educators out there during the times of marcharh, promoting to the culture of sustainability excellence, scientific resilience, and exploring technology scenarios that makes actions plans for climate-related solutions sensible for decision makers and practitioners. A total of 360 leaflets promoting sustainability, science, and peace was distributed at Portugal at year 2017. This brings learning experiences to the promoters and also enriches the public citizens to reflect again the role that marcharh have put forth in the spaces of innovation at times of learning or teaching, and also highly technical research inter-industry participation. From both education and inter-industry activities, one example we have is that a stand-alone scholar was able to make sufficient high-quality scientific work reviewed and presented at several important sustainability-related dialogues. The total number of such interactions amounted to more than 40 times over a duration of 3 consistent years. That is when marcharh was established as a think tank with an enormous high-performance exchange with top-level policymakers at European Union and also other sustainability decision makers interested in either education, research, technology, or some form of prospect, as what marcharh feel about prospect is hope or worth investing. Its roots of marcharh Initiative Center for Sustainable Solutions, termed LEAD, means leadership. So this is a short intro to the profile before year 2020, involving a collaboration of postgrads in sustainability exposed to different scientific fields, co-founders, innovation specialists directed to SDG targets, and all finding a great deal of commonalities with technology interests or in general SDG interests, and finding a significant potential where new scientific projects can be carried out and also contracted with industry agents or investments channels. We also consider postgrad interdisciplinary educational programs, can be online or offline by means of getting more involved in an existing unit that provides the education. Marcharh Leaders maximizes the results of its multidisciplinary collaborative actions. In view of the environment or any sectoral constraints beyond control, leaders are not bounded to modify, as each collaborator's or sustainability agent is respected for his or her own potential and influence profile. Different from higher education or common research units, which can exert maximum influence on reputation, brand, monetary decisions, general prosperity definitions, let's say. For the sake of sustainability and science, this might be a little bit of a shock because I mentioned we are not really putting a maximum influence on reputation, brand, monetary decisions, and the general prosperity definitions. This might be a little bit contradictory to the term called prospect or worth investing. Then again, for the sake of sustainability and science, we want to have an investment with a long-term SDGs praxis with proper education, research, and to create a truly fair and peaceful community that is involved in this sustainability dynamics with sciences. So in this case, our leaders are not by an option. Our leaders in MICS is by dedication and truly invested to perform duties without fake news or interested in transferability of quick ideas or proposals. As our backgrounds are very diverse, covering important engineering fields for sustainability solutions, business economics up to contemporary arts and technical designs. For all purposes, the initiative acts not on the same grounds with other common higher education networks or common monopolizing research units activities outside marcharh, because what we do is that several SDGs related activities are organized by facing certain barriers and confronting the front end of SDG 2030, while other monopolizing institutions or wealthy networks will lead in their own directions. marcharh initiative was then, therefore, officially considered as a strategic and leading goodwill initiative, and is directly depending from the founding members' contribution with a statute, a general one, clear and concise, published in the official articles and online platforms. If you have the chance to follow our updates of www.marcharh.com, or if you go to your search engine of your internet service provider, you could look up marcharh as well as follow up our LinkedIn page, marcharh Initiative. You can understand that we already have a 4 focus area. One is in systems of energy and environmental forms and the corresponding policies. We also look into the extended solution systems, which deals with more advanced mechanisms that tackles complex areas in both planning and organization of tools, which advances prior implementation of SDGs. So when I mentioned these two areas, the systems of energy and environment, the policies, and the extended solution systems, we also deal with the public services, such as utilities, and we look into the roles of energy efficiency and in what ways that renewables investments are important for smart cities planning. We look into the regimes updated with government uh, policies. We look into agendas where investigations of redesigning certain markets might be crucial. It can be in the utility sector or other economic sectors such as tourism. We look at the total environment impact. We also review ecology and sociology interventions, often with applied policies. Some other institutions or more competitive established networks will also look at the same areas of interventions and teams of research and correspond in the same directions with SDGs and policies. But marcharh have a different kind of directions, and we also deal with credible impact assessments, and we have access to certain frameworks and tools that helps us to build up on the next best scientific interventions, which what we all try to achieve in a scientific way, weighted sum of zero risk or a weighted sum of zero threats and losses. We want to have, well, an optimum or as much opportunities of achieving practical SDG targets. Aside from this ambitious roles, we look into scientific education activities that really tackles at the hardcore of scholars. So we deal with cross-cutting units involved in both planning and organization of support networks for different scholars and scientists. For example, if we will need a responsive unit to deal with scholars who are really needing help, we will try our very best with our management team to investigate on this case and see what models can be built up and what proposal is required to manage such cases. We also have an area called FabView, which looks at the freedom of act, protection of scientific work, and intelligence management. We have a separate cluster called the ACS R&D Center, which was launched this year, June. And they also deal with vulnerability paradigms and societal and cultural pressure influence, which is very interdisciplinary in terms of planning and application of those solutions and how it evolves into a management role, often without partisanship and overcoming certain purported burdens set by an external environment, can be societal pressure or behavioral clashes. So in total, the total environment impact, apart from social ecology and biodiversity planning, we look into the personal and professional paths of our participants and the scholars involved in our mission. Aside from that, earlier I mentioned in my slide there is a term called climate change, where our projects deals with solutions that might be useful for climate change. The change term is there. So right now, we are dealing with a diversity of the climate-focused subject discussed either by citizen science, objective science, or methodological science. All in all, if we reflect back on the times of Al Gore, which introduces climate change, he propagated this term very well in a grandeur stage. Sustainability now demands a more scientific borderline, which emphasizes the importance of analyzing different SDGs priorities. We know that we have 17 targets, and that is huge. And we are looking into a large systems of sustainability within a sustainable system. So we need to look also at the impact interrelations in a more holistic way. Everyone, for example, shares an interest in SDGs matters, and this relates to climate change. Yet, if we talk about climate change, it is a complex organization of scientific thoughts. We need to fill in a gap in respect of the coordination of this thought process and learn better. But to learn better is to also acquire knowledge from good teaching strategies from institutions and making the common citizens able to preach positive actions which co-adapts to different quests. That is either in a thought that we are not just concerned about future generations, we are focusing on the now which what climate crisis argues. Yet, the now which becomes a widely discussed issue is been spurring everywhere in the news. So this becomes what we term as climate agenda. And there is a lot of missing changes and missing opportunities. What is missing is that truly let us drive adaptation to the goals we seek. These goals are also buried with several contesting ideas, or some citizens argue skeptic solutions or another fake science. So it's very important what comes hard to define, such as this rock in this image is an art figure with layers of different hues of blue, and it's very hard to define about climate, what impacts it has to Mother Earth, and what role we can do to accelerate our SDG solutions. What comes hard to define and understanding good definitions is to look into the context of the agenda and to seek our purpose for sustainability. When we seek our purpose for sustainability, science comes to play because it allows us to work harmoniously and to realize the vision set for 2030 and ahead. So we talk about climate crisis and climate adaptation. In between, there is a fine line of having a sense of awareness that we have an agenda. If we can take a simple book out of a library or a shop, there is a book called The Green Collar Economy, published by Van Jones, and Al Gore commented that conclusively this book is one of the best solutions for survivability of our planet, are also the best solutions for everyday Americans. Will this be possible in the perspective of the now if we are in a crisis? That conclusively the best solutions for survivability of planet A, the only planet A, which is what majority are focusing on, are also the best solutions for everyday citizens. Is societal driven. So we want to maximize the benefits of using green collar jobs. We want to have green collars on citizens to enwrap them with opportunities, to enwrap them with a resource of sustainability awareness, while avoiding any negative social economic inputs or even so the potential inefficient markets. Inefficient markets can be rebound effects that actually can drain opportunities for a green collar economy. That would be a deeper issue to elaborate. But one simple example is that climate strike, which is a transition that we are in now, climate strike is functioning without proper education. Now, this is a strong statement. Please forgive me for this. But climate strike is also a simulation of a big retaliation to different transformational learning strategies and pedagogies, which actually increases appropriate applications for sustainable solutions. Climate strike, like a democracy, is a movement, a democratic citizen transformation, attempting to shape a just and more compassionate dialogues. In reverse, this is also causing distress and increase of mindfulness training across societal driven sectors. Operating in a belief system known as not wasting time and having a quick change to meditate on more greeners and having access to healthy air, energy conservation, and other indispensable solutions that tackles the hardcore for a sustainable planet, right? So it's like we are waking up tomorrow and we have a huge vast difference of degree change, either in Fahrenheit or in Celsius, and we wake up tomorrow and we have a huge difference in air quality, and we wake up tomorrow, there's a huge difference in the cost of utility services, whether it could be for energy and so on. But this does not happen immediately, not within hours. We've been on strike and on movement for a very long time. Climate change, now the term climate change, as it is happening and measured firmly in the scientific simple context of degrees and greenhouse gas emission percentage change, society now, the general society and citizens must consider our embeddedness in education and our sovereignty of enabling education to report the contrary, either in informal agendas or formal policies. Education, like sustainable awareness, is the number one indispensable tool among the many tools. We need to equally prosper in preaching sensible actions, ethical communications, having a sense of professional mediation, and becoming change agents that can act on extraordinary challenges of our sustainable paradigm. And this sounds a bit surreal and out of planet A. So then again, due to the different criteria of the SDGs 17 targets, and there might be more, even a group of volunteering researchers and goodwill initiative takers is not enough, So we have tried to create and apply sustainable community. We are a team trained enough to address specific SDGs either in the European market and globally, such as in the UK. In any expected number of members, there is a demand since year 2016, and marcharh have conducted and participated in parallel scientific meetups with deep immersion of activity-based learning as well as service learning in both sustainability and scientific teams. We work on various platforms, online, offline, with both front application and as end use of different, what we term change agents, potential change agents. So it can be educators from higher education or primary education, all competitive enough at least to understand the SDG priorities, what typical frameworks works for that, and how science plays a role. Even if it's just one member can make an impact. And we have proven that one impact have led to a huge network and a huge stream of other sustainability change agent makers, or accelerating SDGs transformation in educational sciences activities. So we reflect back on one established ideology and slightly like a methodology or framework that we used to reflect on, called POSE, back in 2016 where we started as a think tank, is to look into the potential of multidisciplinary science when we want to have this applied sustainable community. And the multidisciplinary setting consider the uncertainty associated to different SDGs adoption, as well as the randomness of clients and investors' interests. So we began as a limited company, and we also now have a cluster of projects and different initiatives, such as the one that I mentioned earlier about the ACS R&D. Both, and all in all, always have an objective and credible manner in developing or curating models for policies, and some are for prosperity planning. We also consider the intermittency of preserving scientific innovation and tools, or any new recommendations backed by evidence-based studies. And while we consider this, we look into the SDG transformation competencies and study different assessments that are available for us to do so. Our studies helped to verify and justify possible directions or new themes in enabling SDG targets that eventually becomes fulfilling for the trusted stakeholders, investors, or for the public knowledge. When I mentioned stakeholders or the public knowledge, such general audience and targeted investors or stakeholders interested in us and in our work, this knowledge are reinvested in the green collar economy or the circular economy for emerging technologies or frameworks and new networks, which also seems to adapt to energy and environment systems, either for the current agenda, such as heading towards the SDGs 2030, and in some cases for foresighted sustainability challenges. So we're breaking to part 2. So just hang on.